All right, guys, so now we're going to start finding ratios again. So if you were good with last unit, this unit should be very easy as well. So I'm going to start out right away with a bang. Let's do sine of 7 pi over 6. Okay, the key is here is I do not want you to convert this to degrees. I want you to look at this and immediately see pi over 6 and say, okay, pi over 6 is 30 degrees. Sorry, 30 degrees. Remember, if you can't remember, keep in mind pi is 180. So if you put 180 in for pi, 180 over 6 is 30 degrees. Okay? So I just want you to think reference angle is 30. Then you go to the 7 to figure out the quadrant. So again, this is 0 and 2 pi. If I go all the way around, it's 2 pi. This is pi. When I see the 6 in the bottom, I want to make this a 6 over here, so I multiply by 6 over 6. Still reduces to pi. Over here, I multiply by 6 over 6, so I get 12 pi over 6. Still reduces to 2 pi. So now I look to see where is 7 pi over 6. 7 pi over 6 is one more than 6 pi over 6. So I'm going to go to 6 pi over 6 and one more. That tells me I'm in the third quadrant. So I draw my triangle. I know my reference angle is 30 because it's pi over 6. And now I label my triangle just like I always would. So opposite the 30 is 1, hypotenuse is 2, this is root 3. Sine of 30 would be opposite over hypotenuse, but because of all students take calculus, this answer is a negative 1/2. So literally you're just going sine of 30, what quadrant is it in? That's kind of what you're thinking. Okay, so if we do tangent of 3 pi over 4. Again, right away, you should see pi over 4 and think 45 degrees. So I know my reference angle is 45. I have to figure out what quadrant I'm in. This is pi, this is 0, and 2 pi. This time I have a 4 in the bottom. So I need to make this a 4 in the bottom. So I multiply by 4 pi over 4. Still reduces to pi. I need to multiply this one by 4 over 4, and I get 8 pi over 4. And so now I look. 3 pi over 4 is 1 less than 4 pi over 4. So when I rotate, I'm going to be 1 less. I don't want to go all the way here. I need to be 1 less. That tells me I'm in the second quadrant. So out from the origin to the x-axis, reference angle is 45, because I know it's pi over 4. 1 root 2. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And this is in the second quadrant, so answer is negative 1. Notice, I have no idea what 3 pi over 4 is in degrees. I don't care. I don't need to because I'm going to use my radian answers. How about secant of 5 pi over 3? Think about what the reference angle is. What is the reference angle? What is the reference angle? What is the reference angle? 60. How do I know that? Because pi over 3 is 60. So I just draw my graph. This is pi, but I need a 3 in the bottom, so I go 3 pi over 3. This is 2 pi, but I need a 3 in the bottom, so I multiply by 3 over 3. And so now I think, where is 5 pi over 3? Well, 1 less over here would be 2 pi over 3. 1 more would be 4 pi over 3. I get all the way to here, I need to be 1 less. Remember, you never go off of 90, you never go off of 270. So we're always looking at these. Okay, so I'm 1 less than 6 pi over 3. That tells me I'm in the fourth quadrant. My reference angle is 60. When I see secant, I think cosine. So I label my triangle. I'm thinking cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, 1/2. But then I need to flip that. So I get 2 over 1. And is it positive or negative if we're in the fourth quadrant? All students take calculus. This goes along with cosine, so it's a positive 2. Okay, so you're always looking. What quadrant are we in? What's my reference angle? 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2, what's the reference angle? Well, that's a trick question because there is no reference angle. This is a quadrantal angle. 3 pi over 2, if you see pi over 2, you know you're going by 90s. 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. You should just know that 3 pi over 2 is 270, or you can count. Like I said, this is pi over 2, this is 2 pi over 2, which of course is pi, and this is 3 pi over 2. So this is our unit circle. It's a quadrantal angle. So I find my ordered pair here on the circle with a radius of 1. It'd be 0, -1. Why do I sin? Because of my x's. Sine is just the y value, or you can think of it as being y over r. So what is my y value in this ordered pair? -1. Answer is -1. So we still have the quadrantal angles. In fact, if I do, let's do cosecant of 24 pi. So 24 pi, let's think about this. If I go all the way around, that's 2 pi. If I go again, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. I could keep doing this. Well, you could do it this way too. 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi. What's happening every time we're at an even number? We're right back here. 24 pi is a coterminal answer with 2 pi or with 0. So we're right here at the ordered pair 1, 0. Cosecant, I'm thinking sine. So sine is just the y value. The y value is 0. I take the reciprocal of 0. Now, let's think about it in terms of sine here for a minute. Sine of 24 pi would be 0. Essentially 0 over 1 if you think about the y over r. R is always 1. Now, if I flip that, I get 1 over 0. What's 1 divided by anything? Undefined. So this is undefined. Okay. Let's do one more. 6. Which one haven't I done? Cotangent. So let's do the cotangent of, let's try 4 pi over 3. Tell me the reference angle. Think about it. Think about it. Immediately I see pi over 3. I know 60 is the reference angle. I draw my graph. I want a 3 in the bottom, so I make this 3 pi over 3. This is 2 pi, but I want a 3 in the bottom. I make it 6 pi over 3. So now I want a 4 pi over 3. So I'm going to go to 3 pi over 3, and I'm going to go one more. So I'm in the third quadrant. Reference angle is 60. I label my triangle. Opposite the 60 is √3. Cotangent, I'm thinking to myself tangent. So let's think what tangent of 4 pi over 3. Opposite over adjacent. And then I'm going to flip that. So cotangent is going to be 1 over √3. All students take. It's going to be positive here. And of course, we're going to rationalize that. So we get √3 over 3, and it's a positive answer. Okay, so all of the ones that are non-calculator are going to have either, just as a quick reminder again, your angles that you should know. Pi over 3, 60. Pi over 6, 30. I was just going to say, don't get mixed up. You see the 3 and the 6. Don't think that 3 goes with 30 and 6 goes with 60. Always think pi is 180. So this is 30. Pi over 4, 45. And then, of course, yes, pi over 2 is 90. But you should know those quadrantal angles kind of by heart. So look for those in the fraction. Okay, keep emailing me if you have questions, guys.